Welcome to Pillow Grounds, a workplace podcast. Pillow Grounds is created by and for the Jacob's Pillow community. Each episode will open space for real talk, where we speak about the joys, challenges, lived experiences that shape our work and well being, and where we can explore how to build thriving workplace cultures. I'm Dr. Angelica McCarthy, she, her pronouns. I'm the wellness consultant here at Jacob's Pillow. And today we have Nicholas Kowerko, assistant to the director and board liaison with us, as well as the author of Peace Perception, the Movement Insight. For everybody who's listening, if you heard the first part one, if you didn't, Nicholas Kowerko, author of Peace Perception, the Movement Insight, and also assistant to the director and board liaison at the Pillow. But we wanted to dive a little deeper into the principles of what you've written in your book, because they apply in life in general. And then two, the alignment with the culture statement is just like money. So I wanted to dive deeper into that alignment and how we can literally, through the seasons, whether literally at Jacob's Pillow or in life, how do we step out in the world from that peace perception and better ourselves so we can better each other, you know?
I'm excited to continue the conversation because we went to some great places, and the first episode was such a box office success that they got us a sequel. So here we
Yes.
are. But
Yes.
the sequels aren't always good as the first one, so we'll
You
have
know
to
what? Yes, it's okay though. It's going to be good. I know, because
yeah.
I have a whole list of things here where I'm like alignment, alignment, alignment. And remind us how long you've been at the Pillow. How many years have you been?
This is my third season, but
Yeah.
technically my second like full year
Yeah.
of like I've completed 2 full years at the Pillow. Um, I started in 2023, like 2 weeks before Gala. So I really just like came right in, got right to work, the festival. So yeah, my third season, but second year.
So you've had time at the Pillow pre-culture statement, writing of the culture statement, and then you were a part of the staff that created this document to really set the tone of how we want to build the working environment, the working space to better self, better each other, and the arts community as a whole. Um, I love that this statement was written, and I'm curious how the process was in coming to this language that speaks to generally how we should step out honestly in the world. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm curious about that real quick. That thought just came to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, um, it's interesting because the Pillow is so large as an organization, right? Like there's so many arms to what we do. Um, and it's funny because when like recently we were in a staff meeting or department heads or something, and someone said like, "Oh yeah, we came up with the culture statement and then they inserted the date." And I had paused because I had just sort of thought like, "Oh wait, I thought that like this preceded me, right? Like I thought that this was, sort of like kind of before I had come here." But yeah, when I had really thought about it, if I'm remembering correctly, we sort of formed this in our 2023 staff retreat. Um, and we had an external facilitator come in and kind of like help us come up with it. And um, she was also interesting because she had like she also had like a sort of spiritual inclination, like in some of her facilitation, like it was
Yeah.
clear um that like she sort of like had that context that she was working with, and even at one point she had mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's also just like a really well-known author, spiritualist. He teaches heart coherence, which is an amazing spiritual tool. For anyone interested, like look into heart coherence. It's sort of like a form of breathing meditation. Um, anyway, I mean, in terms of like uh, coming to the culture statement itself, from my perspective, it was sort of easy. I am like using air quotes when I say that, because I don't want to diminish like the thoughtfulness and the work that went into it. But the pillow has been so intentional about creating a culture, and so like kind of putting it into writing, just like kind of solidified some of the things that were already happening, you know? So which I mean is also like that in itself is also akin to spiritual work, right?
Yeah.
Because, like anyone, like I think like one of the most interesting things is this is external from the pillow. I'm just using an example. When people say like, "Oh, I'm a good person," and and in those moments you can kind of like see what their definition of a good person might be, and how like maybe like the definition of a good person could be a little bit broader and a little bit deeper. um and I mean, one of the things that I say in my book is like, I want my definition of a good person to be expanded. Like I
Mm,
want my own understanding of what a good person is to be, to invoke new understanding, and to like if I ever come to the place where I say I'm a good person, that I still want to find more ways to be a good person.
yeah.
Like, because it's like, one morning you could be meditating, but then 2 hours later you could be at work and something could be just so aggravating to you. And it's like, wait a minute, which is, it's like one minute I'm like quote unquote being spiritual and being holy or whatever,
Yes.
but then the next minute, like I'm like kind of my fuse is so short.
Yes.
Um,
That is
so
that's too funny. And it's funny because it's beyond truth. It's like, it's a yes. It's a yes. And that feels like
yeah.
the most perfect segue because your understanding of you as a good person and wanting to expand that, it's through thought. There's an intention behind it, but there's also a belief. You have to do the internal work to understand who, what, where, when, why, how within yourself, to then be able to apply it and practice it. Like you said, you're
Mm,
meditating, but then you go out and your fuse just like it ignites because of a scenario and environment you're put in, or just so many different factors outside of us. So in thinking about this culture statement, it's, if you think about it, if you strip it all away, it's words on a page. And so how do we approach the embodiment of that in the workplace for ourselves, just as much as creating it interpersonally within our departments are, and the environment as a whole. And then we have artists come in who have no idea what this culture statement is. We have patrons come in who have no idea what this culture statement is. And how do we approach welcoming others, and if they're aware of it or not, of the culture, and how we can navigate that. So
mm,
I love what's been written of the principles, and I was hoping maybe that you could give us some peace perception principles that you believe could help in each of these. How can we practice as we're listening to this and thinking about all of these things? And for those of you who have no idea what this culture statement is, it's on the it's on the internet. If you've never read it, I know we've gone over it probably once each festival season, but yeah, I wanted to see if that was a cool flow of let's put peace perception in, and how can we practice this? How can we navigate this? All of these
Yeah.
goals, and they're
Yeah.
all, the beautiful thing is that they're all interconnected. They all stem off of self, and how we
Mm.
navigate this all together. So it may seem like, oh, how do I do this and how do I do that? But I'm sure there's so many synchronicities that we'll discuss and come across that would be just do one thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the good thing is if you've never read the culture statement or if you forgot what the culture statement is or whatever, right? I think the good thing is if you were to go back and read it, you could then reflect like, oh yeah, we do that. Or like, oh yeah, that is present here. Um, and I think that that is really a major, again, spiritual principle that there is so much that is always happening behind the scenes, just out of our sight. Um, it's like that thing if like if you were to put like both of your hands up, like if you like look straight ahead and you put both of your hands up and you try to like position your hands just so like you can see the front of your hands at like the periphery, but you can't see the back of your hands. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is my line of sight. And the reason why the reason why there's an undertitle of the movement in sight is because like you have your own field of sight, but then like there's always stuff that's like coming into your view and then leaving, right? Like stuff happens, stuff leaves. And the thing about the big picture is we don't know what it is. The thing about context is, many times we're in situations where we don't know the context of what it is we're doing. But that doesn't mean that it's not there.
Mm.
So, so like again, if it, like in our culture statement is, like we've got your back, we've got you, you know, and again, you could be working at Jacob's Pillow and never read that, but you're still in meetings and you're still in your like working day where you could like really kind of count the number of times where it's like, oh, that person helped me, that person helped me, that person helped me, we've got you. So it's still there,
Mm.
even if there might not sort of be like the like lecture demonstration of like, okay, and here it is.
Yeah.
um and to use like another sort of like visual physical example, um and this is an example that I talk about in the introduction of my book because it's kind of so emblematic of a lot of things in life. It's like if you put your finger up in front of you, and if you look at your finger and then you look past your finger, like you kind of look to the room sort of behind your finger, it's, your finger becomes like really blurry. And, like it's like double and like you sort of like don't really see it, but then at any moment like you can put your focus back on your finger, but then the room goes blurry. So like if you kind of just like go back and forth between the two, that's kind of a perfect example of life and work, mostly life, where like there could be that thing that's in front of you the entire time, but you're just not seeing it, right? Because you're so focused on like all of these other things. And so like again, in the context of a workday, it's like you may not be focusing on the thing that's right in front of you. You may not be conscious of it, but there because you're sort of like focusing on like all of this other stuff around you, or vice versa, right? Like you are only focusing on the thing that is immediately in front of you, which could be something exciting. It could be something frustrating, but that doesn't mean there isn't this whole background that's right there. So, So yeah, so I think like point number one is like it is present. Like these things in the culture statement are present. We see it, within other people. We also, hopefully we ourselves are acting it as well. Um, but there's just like there's a lot of movement in sight. And so we may not like always kind of be fully aware of the thing that is right there. Um, the other point that I would make um, is I think like uh, one of the greatest spiritual, personal, psychological tools that I have ever encountered is the use of the phrase "I am that." So it's not really an affirmation. I mean, technically, it's a Sanskrit mantra. Tat Tavama Asi is Sanskrit, and then it translates into English as "I am that," or "Thou art that." Pick your translation. What I love about it is I sort of consider it to be the essential key to peace perception. I think it opens all doors. It really opens perception in a way unlike anything other. Meditation is great, breathing is great, affirmations are great, yoga, all that stuff is wonderful, right? Journaling, it's all good. Um, but to go through your life and to see something and to say, I am that, is an amazing tool. It works in two ways. And many people can already sort of grasp this because it's kind of another way of talking about projection,
Mm,
right? Like, oh, I'm projecting onto that situation. And I don't mean that like in a negative way. I don't mean projection like as a negative connotation because, I mean, let's be real. Like at every moment of the day, we are projecting.
yeah,
Like at every moment we're saying, like, oh, I'm projecting meaning onto this thing, this place, etc. Like I'm here like with a cup of coffee, right? And I'm projecting because I'm projecting like, oh, I love this coffee. It's so, it wakes me up in the morning. I'm projecting these things. Or Jacob's pillow, like I project, right? Because I'm like, oh, like it's such a unique place. It's so interesting. Like I project these things onto it. Um, which doesn't mean that like all these things aren't true, right? Because like if I'm projecting the thought like, oh, coffee is hot, well, yeah, it is hot, but like it's still like coming from me.
yeah,
Um, so so the way to use I am that is whenever you're in any kind of situation and you find yourself making an observation, you say, I am that. So, for example, you're in a meeting and you're kind of, uh, so inspired by what someone is talking about or inspired about like the way that they're phrasing it. You're inspired by how articulate they are. And you can say, I am that, right? Like the very fact that I'm recognizing and appreciating it
yeah.
means that it's part of me. And or there's like a bunch of sayings like an observation is a confession, to sort of be like, to look at it on the other way.
Yeah.
It's like if you like say to if you in your mind are like, oh, that person is so stubborn, right? In that moment, you could pause and say, wait a minute, I am that. I am stubborn.
We all have a skill or
Right?
two that yeah, I totally agree with that as far as the observation part. The as you've been speaking about I am that, I've projected it in my mind two different ways as a breathlessness of I am that and like a surrender. And
Mm,
it feels like as you've been giving the examples of of either or, yes, and it could be, it doesn't have to be bad, it doesn't have to be good, it can be anything. It kind of feels like a weight is lifted off with that um, awareness and acceptance of I am that.
Right, absolutely. I mean, even to just like to even be working at the pillow in the first place, right? You
Yes.
can say I am that because to work at the pillow means that like you believe in high standards, right? Like you believe in high standards of art, you believe in high standards of work, you believe in high standards of culture, you believe in high standards of like coworkers and bosses and supervisors, right? So, um, and then there's also like and this is where it gets like kind of a little more psychological where you can say it's well, let me put it this way. So, like, there's an exercise that Deepak Chopra, another author, spiritual teacher, where and he is where I learned I am that from. His book, The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. And he says, make a list of 20 people who you interact with every day or, every week, whatever, people you interact with regularly, and you make a list of all these people and you go one by one and you say I am that, right? It's like, okay, I am like that person because of this, and I am like that person, I am that, etc. And and then maybe illustrate a couple of situations. And anyway, as you sort of go through the exercise, eventually you get to the point where you find you got to find like the people and the situations where you say this is absolutely not me,
Mm.
right? Like I am the complete opposite of this person. Like we could not be any more different from each other. We view things in a completely different way, and that in itself is the lesson, because no matter what the situation is, you got to say, I am that. And that's the thing that can really open your perspective to something else, right? Like, again, if you're like looking at the finger, right, and you're like, I am that, I am not all of that behind it, right? It's like, well, you just got to shift your perspective.
Yes.
And, and again, like, again, if you were to say, like, okay, that person over there is so stubborn. I, on the other hand, am not a stubborn person whatsoever. But if you like really took the time and you say, wait a minute, I am that, I am that, I am that, you probably could find a couple examples within yourself, right? Where you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, I noticed that I am stubborn. Like, I'm stubborn when it comes to this thing. It might be tiny, or like I'm stubborn when it comes to how I interact with even just that one person, right? Or I'm stubborn when, so it's such like it's really such an amazing tool that again like people can grasp it on a psychological level as far as again projection goes, but it also like has like the spiritual component because like it's unitive consciousness, like it's like, oh, like this is all one universe, we're all in this together, we're all reflections of each other. And to put it another way, like in a more poetic way, it's like we're always standing in a hall of mirrors,
Mm.
right? Like if you're standing in front of a hall of mirrors, you're not just going to see the same reflection every time. Like if you've ever stood in front of a hall of mirrors, you're standing here and you could see your exact reflection opposite you. But then like you look over to the left and you kind of see like a fragment of like part of your head, or you look over to the right, you see a fragment of like this side of your body. And like that's the poetry of it all. Because like as you're looking at different people in your life, different people that you interact with, it's like every person shows you a piece of the reflection, right? Like, oh, this person really kind of reflects the kindness that's within myself. this person reflects maybe some of my frustrations that I'm still trying to work on and still trying to own, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, yeah, it's yeah, I really think it's um yeah, just like it's the key that opens all doors.
I feel so warm in my heart after listening to you explain that. And it's so intentional, it's so self-reflective. It takes away it can take away all of the judgment and the assumptions and all the things that we put out there in our the relationships that we have or the things that we do. I literally sat here in my mind too. It's like, oh, it's like it's better than a pros and con list. Like this could be it's a decision maker. I am that.
Mm,
That's that you can. That's your decision maker of
mm,
listing out those 20 things, people, places, things, and allow that to facilitate decision. We could take away, when we're especially in workplaces, what are those things that tell me my value, that show me that what my worth is? And we fall to, are you paying me? We fall to, what are my hours? We fall to those tangible things, but then still sometimes those things don't work. So if you are that, if I am that, then that's where that alignment, you're a better decision maker for yourself. You can wean out, where it really doesn't align and where it does align and step from there,
mm.
you know. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using it. Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me of it. And yeah, that's
Well, yeah, it's also like, I mean, as many things go in psychological and spiritual work, it's like a snowball rolling down a hill, like as it keeps rolling, it gets bigger and bigger. And, certainly, apply it to your relationships for sure. But then, as you sort of like start to understand and recognize its power, um, as a tool, you start applying it to locations and life situations, that like, again, like on a psychological level, like our rooms, like our bedroom, our desk, etc., like are reflections of us, right? Like because they're reflections of our inner state.
mm,
Like if you have a really disorganized desk, right? You got to say I am that,
yeah,
because you can then be like, whoa, like my desk is disorganized because my mind is disorganized, or my room is super clean and I am that because like I love like when things are pristine and in place and so forth. And and like your commute, right? Like you say I am that. You say, okay, I have a 45-minute commute to work, for example. I am that. How am I my commute? Like what is it about my commute that I need to understand? It's like I created some kind of distance between me and my workplace, right? Because like I
yeah,
chose to live in one place and I chose to work in one place. So like whether consciously or unconsciously, right? Like I created that distance because I also set myself up to have 45 minutes to like maybe be in the car and listen to podcasts, or maybe to like have time to be on the phone with someone during my drives, or whatever it may be. And and you just keep it going. It's like, okay, isn't it interesting how working at Jacob's Pillow, like I'll only speak for myself, but I know other people have this experience where it's like, okay, I'm here in the summer, but I'm not here during the fall and the spring. Like I'm
yeah,
remote during the fall and the spring. I am that, right? So like what is it about like how I view life, how I view you know, career, relationships, etc., that like I sort of created this situation for myself, right? Where like, okay, I saw the job posting, I accepted the job, and here I am, right? Where it's like, okay, I did agree that I would be here in the summer and I, can be in another location. So like what is it about like the two sort of like the separation or like the two kind of states of consciousness almost,
Yeah.
right? Or like, oh, the pillow, like when I'm here in the summer, like that's the time where like I'm really pushing myself because like, we have so much programming and we do all these kinds of things and, we're interacting with people all the time. But then like fall in the spring, for some people, like for me, like it might be a little quieter. So it's like, oh, okay, like this is a different consciousness that I'm tuning into. So, and I mean it just keeps going, right? Like you just kind of keep like it just keeps opening your understanding. Like you keep like peeling layers of the onion and you're like, oh, I am that. Oh, I'm also that too. And I am that. And again, you go for the part, you really try to focus on the part that is the most inconceivable to you. You know, again, like the thing where it's like, all right, I'm looking at that over there and I absolutely know that I am not that. It's like, well, if you're seeing it, if you're having a reaction to it,
Mm,
there's a piece of you in there somehow. So,
that's such a
like
major indicator. The reaction and or response of
the
how you're approaching it, how it's being shown to you. That's so
yeah,
true.
yeah, because you wouldn't react
Right.
if it wasn't something. And the theoretical physicist David Bohm, whose work is just tremendous and really looking into, um, but he says like uh, you are constantly trying to spread you over everything, and the fact that you're trying to cover everything also indicates like how like you have these sort of like gaps, in like your sort of like awareness of like, okay, that's me, that's not me. It's like, wait a minute, it's all you.
Wow. Ugh. Always love having conversations like this because they feel just so essential, like essence to truth. And if we once again strip it all away, strip away all the
Mm,
hard stuff, strip all away the everything, and what's right in front of you. I am that. So
yeah.
to draw up I am that within, we have a shared purpose, we are people centric, we've got you, we are flexible, we are stronger together, and we are always learning. How do we summarize that? What is there a is it just I am
Yeah. I mean, well, like if in the first episode, that the previous episode that you and I did together, like it felt like the theme was, hey, do nothing. Right? Like that
Yeah,
was the theme,
yes it was.
like the sort of like core of our conversation, which is, I mean, I still stand by that, right? That like, okay, step one, just do nothing, right? Just sit there. Just notice what you're feeling, notice what's going on. Step two, start to see I am that, right? Because like once you kind of like really center yourself, you do nothing, say nothing, you just sit there and become aware of what's happening, then you can start to sort of see like the hall of mirrors.
Mm,
Again, this might be like really metaphysical, but it's again that I am that works on a psychological level as well. So even if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, I don't believe in like spiritual, like it's new age, it's woo woo, like whatever, right? Like, and that's totally fine. But people do get projection. People do understand, or hopefully can approach like a grasping of of like what the principle is. um but I mean, yeah, to it's like if you were to like sit down with a culture statement, for example, one, you can go like each one and say, I am that, right? Like we're stronger together. I am that. Like we are learning. I am that, right? Like I'm always learning. I want to learn. And yeah, we are stronger when we're in community together and so forth. And, if you find that you're like, okay, I am not that one, right? Like, I don't know, maybe if you're like looking at the list of the culture statement and you like find one that's like, no, I don't think that one's like really true of me or true of us. It's like, well, you're observing it and you're reacting to it, you're having an emotional charge behind it. So like there is something there to, to discover. You know,
Yes.
it's just waiting for you to see it.
Oh, I have chills. I feel like that is just so amazing. And in the end, whether you're spiritual, whether it comes across as woo woo and or not, like in the end, it's our emotional well being. It's an embodied mindset. It's everything is so internal of us. So you don't have to necessarily understand or see the spiritual side, but know that, like you were saying, the psychological side of things. It's it all comes from how are we responding? What is our emotional response? What is our emotional response telling our mind? What are our thoughts that are coming? What are we seeing? What are we doing? How are we reacting and responding? So whether you see it as deep as where we were in the spiritual side, or if it's just as superficial as what is my emotion and what is my thought, those are this conversation was so great. I am that, like that's it.
Hmm.
That's it. That's how you can
Yeah.
step out every day. I am that. And it starts with self, and we just continue to be better as a whole, as a community. And there's only so many staff that stay at Jacob's Pillow the entire year round. So the rest of us that are seasonal and interns and consulting and things like that, we can step out in each of our other arts communities as a whole, and really impart the beauty of setting a wholehearted well-being culture for us all. I love it.
Mm, yeah.
Nicholas,
And
where
if
can go ahead? I'm sorry. Finish. Yeah, I'm sorry.
oh, I know
Yeah.
we're sort of running out the clock, but I do have to plug that I do have a whole chapter in my book about I am that. I think it's chapter 3. Um, and I really just like give a whole list of like, hey, have you considered how you're this? Have you considered how you're this? Have you considered how you're this? So, um, it's it's you know, if you were intrigued by this conversation, it's a great place to look for more.
So I was getting ready to say, where can people find you on campus? Where can they find Peace Perception? There's links to your Amazon, but I'd like tell us everything about where to find you in this last couple of seconds here.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm here on campus. During the summer, you'll see me walking around, for sure. Peace Perception, yeah, available on Amazon. I have copies with me, as well, usually at all times. So feel free to come up to me. And the book is also available through my publisher, Book Baby. And I do just want to say, like, it's always nice to support like a smaller independent publishing house. So if you do want to purchase through the publisher directly, that's always so appreciated, to support a small business, or smaller business. um, and yeah, and again, I see we're running out of time, so I'll
We
give you the
are.
last word.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And thank you for listening.